morning and welcome back to the shop. Today what we're going to be working on is the Off Grid Trailer 2.0 Pando, and what we're doing is we're getting rid of the shiny surface on the pantry doors, and I'm sure you can see it in the video how shiny. There's fingerprints, there's smudges, the grease from the stove gets on these guys, and personally I don't like it. It's a mess, it's hard to clean. So what we're doing is we're replacing, actually we're not replacing anything, we're applying an automotive vinyl film to these doors. And we've already done one door, and you can see in the video the difference between the shiny surface, very reflective, and the matte black vinyl. We're going to walk through the process for applying this vinyl. It's super easy to apply. It took me maybe 10 minutes to put this on, and I had no special tools. Basically used my fingers and a little piece of rubber to apply it. And once you apply it, it's heat sensitive, so you just take a hairdryer and run your hairdryer across it, and it basically sets the adhesive. Now for an automotive application, they say it lasts between 5 and 7 years outside. So I'm sure that I'll be in the grave before this vinyl wears out or comes off these panels on this off-grid trailer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the light around, and hopefully you can see the reflection. And all the doors that do not have the vinyl on them are, you can see the smudges. Maybe I can move the camera up a little bit closer. You can see the smudges. But look at that door. There's no reflection at all in it, and it looks very nice, very easy to clean. You can clean it with soap and water or 409 or isopropyl alcohol. So to remove these doors, unlatch it. I'm going to remove these 4 Phillips head pan head screws up here, and I'm using a 3/8 inch wrench. And there's some Loctite on these screws to keep them from coming undone. There's a flat washer, a lock washer, and then a cap nut on the back. Loosen it up. Now for these upper doors, it's actually better if you had an assistant to help you get them off so it doesn't drop down. I don't have anyone around yet that can help me do this, so I'm going to balance it on my head. Excuse me. And there you have it. Now this latch here, we're going to take off in the shop. Actually, I can take it off here. All you need is a Phillips head screwdriver. Take your screw out. There's a clamp that squeezes it to the door. the shop, cut a piece of vinyl, and apply it. Okay, so we're in the shop, and what I've got here is a cutting mat. You can buy them at your local hobby store, and you need the mat because we're going to apply a piece of film that's larger than the panel, and after you get it applied, you're going to want to trim it with an X-Acto knife. You can use one of these guys, or what I'm using is an X-Acto knife blade that I pulled out of my handheld cutter. It's just easier for me to handle that way. From a safety point of view, I would recommend using an X-Acto knife with a very sharp blade for trimming. So, first thing we're going to do is clean the surface with isopropyl alcohol. Always apply the alcohol to a lint-free cloth. I'm using a paper towel. It works great. Get any rough surfaces, anything. I run my hand over the surface to make sure there's no raised pieces of powder coating. This is a powder coated aluminum panel. And what I do is I always clean my work surface as well to make sure. See, I picked up some black dust probably from my last powder coating operation. Clean your work surface. That way you don't get any dust particles underneath the vinyl. Small dust particles will not show through. The vinyl will cover them. And find a clean section of your panel. Give it one last clean. So I'm going to set this panel aside and get the vinyl. So this vinyl comes in a roll like this, okay? And vinyl, it's got a curl to it from being on the roll. So what I do is I take it before I'm actually going to apply it, and I get it in a warm room, not in the sunlight, but somewhere where it's warm, because this vinyl works a lot better when it's warm. Roll it out and put a book on each end and get it flat. It makes it easier when you're working with it. So lay your panel down. And give yourself, oh, they say 2 inches. But I've got this fixed to where I'm going to get another panel out of this. These things are 19 inches long. And if I'm lucky, I can get another 19-inch door done. Yep, it's exactly 19 inches. So that will give me, if I leave a half of an inch on each side, then I'll have enough vinyl to do another door. So these rolls I bought on Amazon. They cost roughly $10. Square up your panel, take your X-Acto knife and trim off your section. So I'm using two homemade tools to do this. You can buy squeegees online. You can buy a kit for $10. I just took a piece of foam board from your local hobby store and I put some tape around two of the edges, and it helps you to squeegee out the vinyl. But I had this little piece of rubber, like a little tiny squeegee, that I also use to push the bubbles out. You'll see that I'll be using this more than this foam board when we get going here. Alright, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to just lay that vinyl flat, and I'm going to take and get a new piece of paper towel. And I'm going to clean the panel and the edges. Make sure you get the edges. Get it really good. Now we can start applying the vinyl. So it's picked up some pieces of sawdust from the shop. I'm just wiping it off on my t-shirt here before we get started. And I blow off the surface lightly. You can use dust off if you want. Don't spit on it, but blow off the dust. And I use the grid lines on the cutting mat as a guide for applying the vinyl. So what you want to do is you want to grab the vinyl real close to the edge and roll off 5 or 6 inches and get it to curl up underneath like that. And then give yourself, square it up, because when you roll it out, just give it a tack right in the center there. Now, I use my hand to begin with. You just kind of run it down the center a little bit and spread it out to the edge. See how I'm just using my fingers here. Just spread it out to the edge. And then grab the roll, the backing roll, with a couple fingers while you're holding on to the vinyl with your thumb and index finger. And just as you're working your way down the center towards the edge, using the palm of my hand, make sure I have any bubbles. If you have any bubbles, then you take your rubber squeegee and just kind of squeegee them towards the edge. Remember, the adhesive on this is pressure or heat activated. So giving it a little bit of light pressure as you're rolling the vinyl out will allow you to peel it back up if you find you have a bubble or a misplacement or an imperfection or something. So don't worry about whether or not got a crease or something underneath. On my last panel that I showed you in the video, I actually had a piece of, I think it was dust or wood chip or something had gotten underneath, and I couldn't squeegee it out. So there, I've got it all applied. I didn't even have to use a squeegee on this one. This one went on great. But it is pressure sensitive. So I am going to go around the edges and just give it a little pressure squeegee towards the edge. I made a template out of 11 gauge sheet metal, but I decided not to use it because I figured that there was no way I was going to get it perfectly aligned and laid out all the way down. So I took the advice of the manufacturer. Speaking of the manufacturer, this is automotive film from VVIVID. Okay, you can find it on Amazon. This is a 1 foot wide by 5 feet long roll. I bought 2 rolls. A couple of the doors on the Pando are wider than 1 foot, so but you can actually buy these like in 1.5 or 2 feet wide by 5 feet long. So I'm going to buy a roll that's wide enough for the larger doors that I have. But automotive film on Amazon, 10 bucks a roll. You can get 3 doors done with 1 roll. Okay, so now that we got it pressed down, I'm going to flip it over. I'm going to flip it over, and I'm going to use my X-Acto knife to trim around the edge. This is where it's important to have a sharp knife, and I'm angling my blade out about 25 or 35 degrees because I want the cut to be somewhat closer to the inside edge of the door, so I don't have any overhang. I'm rotating it around so I get a around the edge, using the door as a guide. This is strapped. You just pull it up and throw it away. Flip the panel over. It's still stuck really nice. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut the opening for the door latch. And what I do is, if you ever done any upholstery work, you basically go from each corner and make a cut in, make like a diamond, and then cut right down the center. Alright, and you end up with 4 flaps. So using a little bit of isopropyl alcohol to clean those surfaces. and grab a long edge, and what I'm using the squeegee for is to kind of push to create like a crease, and flip it over. You don't have to be precise here because the door latch has a lip on it and it's going to hold it in place. Fold over, crease it a little bit. Now on this top side there's a foam gasket, so you got to trim part of the triangle off before you flip it over. Alright, so this is heat activated. I'm going to turn the hairdryer on, heat it up. Get it warm. Press it down. Now what I'm going to do is I'll basically show you what I do, but because of the noise of the hairdryer, I'll turn the camera off and finish it. But what I do is I start by heating up the edge, and as I heat the edge I go around with my finger and press it down like this. Go all the way around, do the inside surfaces here. Have the hairdryer in front of your finger or thumb. Bring it on around, work it all the way around. I actually go around 3 or 4 times. And then once you get the edges adhered, then you can go and you can heat the surface of your vinyl so that the adhesive activates and sticks to your panel. I've got the vinyl all heated up. I got it pressure tacked down. The adhesive is activated, and this vinyl is not going anywhere. So one of the last steps I've got to do in the shop here are I've got to cut the vinyl out of these openings for the screws. And the way I do that is I just use my X-Acto knife, get one side cut, and I use a pair of tweezers and just go around and cut the vinyl off. You don't have to be too exact here because the mounting blocks on the door. We'll cover all of this. And so what I'll do is I'll heat it up one more time, just around the edges. So I've got isopropyl alcohol on my lint-free cloth. Just cleaning up the surface. Remember, spray the alcohol under your rag. Don't spray it onto the vinyl. That's what they recommend. I don't think it'll hurt it because I've actually done it and it didn't seem to. Yeah, I sprayed it on there just for the. I have a little soapy water here. You can try that as well. You can see it cleans up really nice. No reflections, no smudges, no fingerprints. There you have it. Now what we're going to do is we're going to reinstall the latch. Basically insert it from the front side. You can see there's a nice lip all the way around, so it provides some down pressure. Flip it over. This little U-channel latch basically screws in with one screw on the back. There you have it. We're going to go through and do the rest of the doors until we run out of vinyl. And once again, thanks for watching. And if you're interested in getting rid of the shiny fingerprint and smudge laden powder coated doors on the Pando off-grid trailer, why don't you go ahead and try automotive wraps onto the doors. They come in different colors, different textures. I happen to like matte black. You can put stickers on here if you want. You can actually buy vinyl wraps. They're more expensive with mountains or topo map grid lines and things like that. So you can get as fancy as you want. What I thought I'd do is, before I removed and applied vinyl to the last panel, I thought I'd give you a picture of what it looks like with the vinyl coated panels against the panel that has not been coated yet. So the panel in the center, as you can see, is blacker and shinier relative to the two panels on your right. And if you can see, there are fingerprints and smudges all over the center panel. And I just finished cleaning it with Windex, windshield washer solvent, and another window cleaner, and I cannot get those smudges and minor scratches off. Now if you take a look at the panel just to the right, excuse the lighting, you can see there's no smudges, there's no fingerprints. And we'll go over here, there's the center panel, and here's the panels to the right. Again, there's no smudges, there's no fingerprints. And we're going to come down to the lower part of the galley here. Got the pull-out drawers. You can see there's no smudges or fingerprints on those panels. I finished installing the last panel, which was the center panel, and hopefully you can see the difference. No reflections, no shiny surfaces. No scratches, no fingerprints. The light might be a little too bright, but it's all I've got. So here's a, you can see even with the bright light that I'm using, there's no reflections off of the panels that have the vinyl auto wrap on it. Best of all, there's no fingerprints, there's no smudges, no scratches. Here's the bottom panel. It's the largest panel that I did. Okay, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video. I also put the vinyl wrap on the hot water heater and Propex heater enclosure door using the leftover vinyl that I had from the Galley. And if you can see it, compare it to the battery compartment and storage enclosure door. You can probably see all the fingerprints and smudges all over it. I plan on putting a vinyl wrap on both the left and the right side doors up here as well.